People ask me all the time, Stephanie, do you miss San Francisco? And the answer is actually a little bit complicated. There are certainly things I miss and lots of things I don't miss. And so today's video will be all about what I miss and what I don't miss about San Francisco or just city life in general. I'm Stephanie Johnson. I'm your RealWise agent here in Sonoma County. And I have made it my mission to help people like you who are considering a big move from maybe the Bay Area or Los Angeles or another city, somewhere far away maybe, and moving to Sonoma County. And so if an urban move into the country is what you're contemplating, today's video is for you, so stay tuned. So I guess I'll go into what I really don't miss first, because I think that list is quite a bit longer actually than the parts that I do miss. But things I don't miss are obvious, right? I don't miss the congestion. It got worse over the more than 20 years that I lived in San Francisco, but traffic, congestion, noise, construction, sirens, road work, you name it. I mean, I've lived through all of it. I even lived through a renovation of the building that neighbored mine that shared a wall with my home, and they took 3 years to renovate that building and broke the foundation 2 or 3 times. So that close proximity, that living really tight with other people and having such density really creates for me a lot of stuff that makes me feel very uncomfortable. My nervous system does not enjoy noise and chaos. And so I think that sort of whole cluster of features of living in a city just got to me. I got tired of it. And so in Sonoma County, things are very different. I've lived on the same property for more than 5 years now. I've never once heard a siren, which is such a blessing. I love it so much. What you do hear, the noise in the country, you hear roosters, you hear the donkey braying next door, you hear horses, occasionally you hear dogs bark, you hear a lot of sort of what I call the sounds of Sebastopol, people weed eating and mowing, but it doesn't hit me in the same way, kind of at that nervous system level, the same way a siren or horns honking or jackhammers do. The second thing that I really don't miss about city life is just the sheer kind of competition for resources. Everything from dinner reservations to parking to summer camps for your kids to trying to sign them up for sports to trying to figure out what to do with them, getting into a museum, to be shoulder to shoulder with all of the other moms that came up with that idea to do on a rainy Saturday afternoon. You know, it's a lot. And I think especially with kids in tow, that competing for resources feels exhausting. And it's not the same here. In Sonoma County, certainly, on a tourist weekend in the summer in Healdsburg or in Sonoma, it's going to be tough to park right on the town square. But in general, there's not a lot of competition for resources. Parking's generally pretty easy in comparison to the Bay Area. Summer camps, you can sign up at the last minute for most of them. They don't fill up really. And so all of that feels like a deep breath of like just letting the stress of worrying in the middle of the night about all the things that have to happen or they become missed opportunities, right? And so I think all of that I don't miss at all. The third thing I really don't miss about living in San Francisco, and I think this is maybe urban life, especially when you live in a place where there are a lot of people who are in professional sort of demanding jobs, is a lot of my friends were really successful, which was really cool. You know, they could afford to go out to dinner if you could get them nailed down to see you. I mean, people get really busy. And it's not because they don't want to spend time with you. It's just their work schedule, their travel schedule for work, their kids' schedule, their kids' travel schedule for sports and whatever else their kids are involved in. It becomes very complex very quickly. And it was hard to get on people's calendars and feel like you had, you know, connection with other people at the center of your life. And that was a lot of work and it wasn't always successful. And I was just as busy as all my friends. And so trying to schedule things was really hard. That's different in Sonoma County. There are certainly people who are scheduled more than others, but my experience here has been that people generally live a simpler life. They're not as intensely overscheduled. Their careers are not in general as demanding, and they generally just have more free time. And so things can happen more fluidly and at the last minute. And that's been a really nice change. The fourth thing I don't miss is like having to plan to be outside somewhere so my boys could run around and be kids, you know? We had a single family home in San Francisco, and so we did have a garden, but it was teeny tiny. There wasn't space really for them to run and play the way they needed to. And so having to get them into organized sports in order to get them out of the house and engaged, or drive to a park and circle around looking for a parking space, and just so they could ride their bicycle or run around and play tag, it became a lot to manage. And I know all the parents in San Francisco do it, but it's a lot. And that's that's not the case here. We have 2 acres. My younger son's friend lives right across the lane. They play water guns and swim in each other's pools, and it's super chill. And it's the way I wanted to raise kids. And it just, in San Francisco, it's just not really an option. Also related to children is I really do not miss private school tuition in the least. If you're living somewhere where the urban schools are not great, or the ones that are good are impossible to get into, and you are forced to pay private school tuition to adequately educate your children, that's San Francisco in spades, and it's very expensive. And my kids are in beautiful schools in Sonoma County that we pay a little bit of money to the Parents Association every year for enrichment programs, but otherwise it's totally free. Now, I'm not talking about all cities when I say this, because San Francisco is sort of its own sort of entity, you know, but I know people love San Francisco and the fog. It's very romantic, but I don't really miss it at all. I mean, I lived there for so long with my hair blowing around and frizzy, and you know, you turn the corner and like it's just this freezing cold, like wet air hits you. I mean, I never liked it. And now when I go back, especially in the summer, if I'm there and I leave Sonoma County in short sleeves and, you know, a light pair of pants, and I get to the city and I'm freezing, and I don't miss that at all. And if you're somebody who braces in cold, windy weather and foggy weather, Sonoma County, especially the eastern parts of our county, will be a nice respite for you. I live in West County. I mean, we do have fog here, but it's not anything like San Francisco fog. It's very benign, and it often burns off around 10 a.m. So tolerable. You know, I like summer. I grew up in Northern California where it got really, really hot in the summer. I spent every summer day at the pool, which was a neighborhood pool that we belonged to. It was one of the things from my childhood that I loved the most, and I really missed it when I lived in San Francisco. And so one of my goals was to have a pool, to come to Sonoma County and have a summer experience and have my kids have that. And so we do have it, and it's been lovely. So no, I don't miss San Francisco summers at all. Okay, so what do I miss? There are a few things. And I will say, I think if I could have picked my house up out of Noe Valley and brought it with me to Sebastopol and put it on this piece of property, it would have looked a little out of place, but I really would have liked to be able to do that. I loved my house. I lived in a Spanish Mediterranean home, and it had the moldings and the beautiful details and the arched doorways and beautiful inlaid floors. And you know, those old homes in San Francisco, I mean, I feel really grateful to have had a real estate career in San Francisco for all the years that I have, because I got to sell those gorgeous, gorgeous homes, and I feel like they're really special, and there's not a lot like it in Sonoma County. We do have some old kind of Victorians in downtown areas. We have some old farmhouses, but for the most part, a lot of Sonoma County was developed in the mid-century, 50s, 60s, 70s. And while I think these homes from the mid-century offer something else, you know, they're pretty cool. They can become kind of Dwell magazine inspired, and I like that aesthetic as well. I think my favorite aesthetic are some of the homes in San Francisco, and so I do miss my house. In addition to my home, I lived at the top of a hill, which got old after being there almost 20 years, because I got old, frankly. When I bought that house, I didn't care. I was young and in shape and all the things. But as I got older, making the hike from the downtown area up the hill to my house became more and more painful. So I don't miss being on the hill for that reason, but I did have a really nice view of southern San Francisco and the Bay and the East Bay, and I really enjoyed waking up and having coffee and looking out at that beautiful view and knowing exactly where I was. And luckily I took lots of pictures, and so I can look at it anytime I want to on my phone. What I traded it for was a view of my very own property, my own garden. And I have a lot of beautiful trees and shrubbery and landscaping, and I think a view looking out onto nature is so much more calming for my body. While I enjoyed the view for many years from my window in San Francisco onto the city below, I think I'd rather look at my own property that I take care of and that has just natural beauty in spades. I do miss some of my friends in San Francisco, although when I lived there, I didn't see them much anyway. And if any of you are watching, I miss you, and I wish you'd come visit me in Sebastopol, because I'd love to host you. That said, I do miss a handful of wonderful people that I left in San Francisco. But as I said earlier, you know, as much as I care about these people, because their lives are so scheduled, it's very challenging to see them. And so, you know, I can still see them on about the same frequency as I saw them when I lived 10 blocks from them in San Francisco, and maintain that friendship and still have more of a connected lifestyle here with people. You know, I think human connection's a little bit more at the top of the menu here in my life in Sonoma County than it was in San Francisco, ironically. And so I kind of feel like now I have the best of both worlds. And the last thing I miss, of course, is the convenience of living in a city. I mean, there are lots of inconveniences, but the convenience of close proximity of resources and an ease of sort of just catching an Uber or a taxi or a bus and getting around town without a car, those are hard to replicate here. You know, as much as I drove in San Francisco because I'm a real estate agent, and of course I was very car dependent there, I drive a lot more here. I drive longer distances because everything's spread out in Sonoma County. And I also just live outside of town. So every time I want to run an errand, I have to get in the car. I can't really walk anywhere from where I live now. In addition, you know, San Francisco Airport is an international airport. I could take a taxi from my house in about 25 minutes to SFO, not take a car down there, and fly anywhere in the world. And while we do have a beautiful airport here in Sonoma County and Santa Rosa, and more airlines are flying out of that airport, and we have more access to more cities from that airport now than we did in just a year ago. SFO is a really nice amenity to have so close, because I do occasionally like to go on trips and it's more of an effort. You know, I've got to drive, I've got to park down there, I've got to get through all the Bay Area traffic to get to and from the airport. After a long trip, it's a lot to add that maybe hour and a half plus drive from SFO up to Sebastopol. I think if I had to fly a lot internationally for work, this move would not have worked for me. So if that's something that's part of your reality, you might want to think twice about coming this far north, because the closest international airport is an hour and a half away. And of course, I'm a foodie. I loved having the convenience of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of restaurants right in town. San Francisco is a food mecca, and it has everything from a great burrito under $10 to a several $100 fabulous meal, and everything in between. And so I really love it. When I'm in San Francisco, I make a point to eat out while I'm there, but Sonoma County has its own offering in this department. And I think people underestimate the quality and quantity of really incredible food that is on offer here in wine country. So, I mean, it's definitely different. The cultural options in San Francisco really outweigh what's available here in Sonoma County. It definitely holds its own here. And I think if you're thinking about moving and the only real big objection you have is the foodie culture, there's enough here to sustain you for sure. And so was it worth it? I mean, yes, obviously I'm still here. I love it. I love Sonoma County. I love living here. I love how my body feels living here. I love being in nature. You know, I think the trade was absolutely worth it. I gave up some things that mattered to me, but in the end, I realized after 25 years of being there, they just didn't really matter to me enough to keep me rooted in the Bay Area. And so I'm really happy with the move. I'm really happy to live in a natural environment. My kids have thrived here, and yeah, it's a big change, but it was absolutely worth it. And the few sacrifices that I made to make it happen were well worth it. So if this video was helpful to you and you'd like to talk about your move to Sonoma County, the things you might miss, and if there's other things that are on your list that I didn't address today, then by all means, reach out to me. Book a call with me. Let's have a chat about what you want to do. I'd be glad to be your guide. I'm Stephanie Johnson. I'm your Real Wise agent here in Sonoma County, and I am creating content about life and real estate in Sonoma County every week. So please subscribe to our channel, hit the bell so that you're notified every time I drop a video. And I hope that all of this education is helpful to you as you discern whether Sonoma County is right for your next chapter. Until the next one, bye for now.